Hello. Uh, I hope you all had a wonderful Christmas, and I hope you all had a happy New Year. This year has been, it was a quite rocky year we had. It's something I'm sure none of us we have ever had experienced in our lives before. The things that we had to go through, the things that happened to us. Well, whatever the case is, when you know you're together with Christ, there's nothing to worry about. Whether that be diseases or anything horrible, really. When you know you have Christ with you, you don't have to worry about anything. That's one lesson I'm sure we all remember very well. Okay. Let's start off from John chapter 2, verse 1 through 4. I'll read them to you. Okay. And the third day there was a marriage in Cana of Galilee, and the mother of Jesus was there. And both Jesus was called, and his disciples to the marriage. And when they wanted wine, the mother of Jesus said unto him, They have no wine. Jesus said unto her, Woman, what have I to do with thee? Mine hour is not yet come. Okay. Hey, when you read these verses, it could come off as, kind of weird that Jesus is referring to Mary, who is his biological mother, as a woman. Most people would call their mother as like mom or mommy or something like that. And when you're trying to talk to them, if you think about it, it's almost rude that Jesus is calling his own mom woman, like she's a stranger or something. Does this mean Jesus is disrespectful? Well, another thing we need to pay attention when reading these verses is that, and this is very important in this part, is that Jesus tells her that his hour hasn't come yet. Okay, you might be sitting here wondering, hey, what is Jesus talking about here? What this hour has to do anything with wines? Alright, well, we have to think more into it. When Mary gave birth to Jesus, she probably expected some form of special treatments when you think of how Jesus came down to earth. Jesus didn't come down to earth like a normal person. He was conceived by the Holy Ghost, and Mary was pregnant as a virgin without having to, do things. And when you consider all of that, and if you think about it, Mary could have probably figured out that Jesus was someone ordinary. And when Mary told Jesus that the wine is all gone, you also have to consider how important wine is to the Jews on such occasions, especially in a wedding. Mary perhaps had a thought that Jesus, who is very extraordinary, as we all know it, but maybe uses godly power or something to do, something about the lack of wine. And Jesus, declines her, like, this has nothing to do with me. Almost like a professional would talk to, like, very snappy, very, very down to the point. Not in a way you would talk to your own mother. Okay. But if you keep on reading, Jesus just turns water into wine anyway, even though he told her, this doesn't have anything to do with me, and it's not my time yet. So why did he tell her that his time hasn't come yet? Now that's what we have to think about here. One thing we could infer when thinking about when Jesus said his hour hasn't come yet is that he could have meant that it wasn't time for him to start working on the reason why he came down to earth, and which we know is to give salvation to us. But another thing we need to think about is just what is Jesus' hour? What does it mean when you say God's hour, basically? Because Jesus is God. Now, while we're thinking about all this, we could look into that with these verses. Mary probably just wanted Jesus to show off his amazing power or something, because she's just a person, and that's probably what we will all think like if we were in her shoes. But Jesus decided that with the marriage at Cana and turning water into wine, this event could be used to signal the start of Christ's work. He decided that by showing his signs, that's something a just ordinary person can't do, which is turning water into wine. He probably thought that, with this, he could start working on the things he came down here for. He probably thought that he could use this, to start working on his job, which is, salvation. Okay. And as you keep on reading about this wedding, you'd notice that throughout all the verses, John, he didn't record anything about the actual bride and the groom at all. And he just puts all the spotlight onto Jesus. Now, it might be that you could probably think that John didn't care anybody but Jesus, and that's why he didn't include bride and the groom. But there's another way to look at this. Bride and the groom, they're the most important people in a wedding, obviously. But in this wedding at Cana, Jesus is the focus here, and there's actually someone else that's also in focus here, and that's you, the reader. And with this, you could tell that this is a wedding for Jesus and us, pretty much. For our soul to, combine together. That's what happens when you get married, right? Okay. Now let's take a look into John chapter 2, verse 5 through 12. I'll read that for you. His mother said unto the servants, Whatsoever he saith unto you, do it. And there were set there 6 water pots of stone, after the manner of purifying of the Jews, containing 2 or 3 firkins apiece. Jesus said unto them, Fill the water pots with water. And they filled them up to the brim. And he said unto them, Draw out now, and bear unto the governor of the feast. And they bare it. And when the ruler of the feast had tasted the water that was made wine, and knew not whence it was, but the servants which drew the water knew, the governor of the feast called the bridegroom, and said unto him, Every man at the beginning doth set forth good wine, and when men have well drunk, then that which is worth worse. But thou hast kept the good wine until now. This beginning of miracles did Jesus in Cana of Galilee, and manifested forth his glory, and his disciples believed on him. After this he went down to Capernaum, he and his mother and his brethren and his disciples, and they continued there not many days. Okay. So just as Mary told Jesus to do, well, not exactly. She didn't tell him to turn the water into wine. She just said, Jesus, there's no wine, and But anyway, Jesus turns water into wine, and when you see the process, John recorded something that Jesus does frequently whenever he's showing his miracles at us, whenever he's showing his signs, the godly signs, at us. And that is criticizing the laws Jews had to follow. Whenever Jesus showed us a sign, he did it on Sabbath days. Those days you're not allowed to do anything, and by law you have to, take a break if you're a Jew. And he did this on purpose to enlighten the Jews. Okay, by turning water into wine, which is his first sign he ever did, he turned water in 6 pots into wine. And to Jews, the number 6 represents the humans. And it's something that's incomplete. And for them, the number 7 is the number that symbolizes God and completeness. Okay, here, when Jesus, over here, water pots, 6 of them, they represented the incomplete Jewish laws. The water pot inappropriately had water in it instead of wine. At the wedding, no one's just gonna drink boring old water. They're gonna drink wine. They're gonna, you need drinks for happy occasions like that. You need drinks to party, basically, I don't have to explain it. Everybody already knows it. Okay, and Jesus stepped in, and with Jesus, the incomplete Jews are now complete, and water now became wine. Okay, and this is a very important part we're getting into. After he turned the water into wine, servants gave them out to the governor. He didn't know where the wine was from, but the servants did. And with this first sign Jesus showed to us, the first thing that he did to prove to us that he is Christ and Son of God, and he is capable of doing things that no human is capable of. His disciples believe him. Yeah, that's a very important part that you have to keep in mind. Jesus wasn't just some teacher or just some philosopher or something like that along the line. No, Jesus was actual Christ. He was actual Son of God. And he was capable of doing things that, a man is not able to do unless you're God. Well, that is very important for our faith. To know that Jesus really was Christ and he wasn't just some religious figure or something like that. But that shouldn't be all there is to your faith. Your faith should mean, perhaps this was enough for them to believe that Jesus was Christ. Okay. Yeah, alright. Cool. Thank you, and we'll see you right again in another video. Okay. We love y'all. Thank you.